Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been keeping an eye on military tech, you know drones are literally everywhere. But today, we're not talking about those remote-controlled planes of the past. We're diving into a fascinating 2025 study on how AI-driven drone swarms are fundamentally rewriting the entire rulebook of global security. This is a totally new era of warfare, and it is unfolding right now, completely shifting the balance of power across the globe. So what actually happens to global security when weapons start thinking together? It's a massive question, because as we'll see, this shift from billion-dollar fighter jets to autonomous, decentralized swarms is completely breaking the Cold War-era theories that have kept our world relatively stable for decades. I mean, think about it. When weapons can communicate, adapt, and make collective decisions without a human pulling the joystick, every single defensive strategy a nation has goes completely out the window. Just to be clear, everything we're covering in this explainer is derived directly from some incredibly detailed research published in the International Journal of Social Sciences Bulletin by Zahid Umar. This study specifically zeroes in on the intense geopolitical rivalry in the Indo-Pacific, looking at how the world's major powers are using this exact swarm tech to outmaneuver each other. It's an absolutely brilliant look into the intersection of cutting-edge AI and international relations. To help us digest this giant puzzle, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the drone swarm revolution. Then, redefining the modern battlefield. Third, the Indo-Pacific chessboard. Fourth, a specific case study from May 2025. And finally, breaking deterrence theory. All right, part one, the drone swarm revolution. First, we really need to establish what a drone swarm actually is, because we are moving away from a world where humans manually pilot expensive individual machines, like fighter jets, to a reality where incredibly cheap, AI-driven drones mimic flocks of birds or schools of fish. Traditional UAVs operate on their own, and frankly, they cost an absolute fortune. Drone swarms, on the other hand, they operate with this decentralized hive-mind coordination. They're communicating in real time, sharing data seamlessly, and they do it all without a central human command holding their hand. This crucial point is captured perfectly by Dr. Jas Paul. He knows that these systems think together. They don't just fly together. And they do this through something called edge computing. That basically means they process data right there in the sky, rather than waiting on a distant server. So these swarms are literally learning new behaviors mid-flight. If one drone gets shot down, the rest of the swarm instantly recalculates and adjusts its formation. They make collective tactical decisions to evade anti-air systems entirely on their own. It's basically a resilient web of artificial intelligence hurling through the sky. Okay, moving on to part two, redefining the modern battlefield. So how does this actually play out in a military context? Well, the tactical advantages laid out in the research are pretty staggering. We're talking unprecedented battlefield surveillance, advanced electronic warfare, and high-impact precision strikes. But the real kicker here is their ability to wipe out enemy radar and completely overwhelm existing air defense systems. By massing together super quickly, these swarms reach a saturation point that just exhausts traditional defenses. Think about it. Your anti-aircraft missiles might shoot down 50 drones, but if a swarm has 500, those remaining 450 are getting right through. They act as a massive force multiplier that's incredibly resistant to standard countermeasures. And then there's the sheer asymmetry of what researchers are calling budget warfare. Just pause and think about the economics for a second. You can put thousands of drones in the air for the price of one single fighter jet. In fact, an entire swarm costs less than the landing gear of a modern stealth fighter. No joke. This completely levels the playing field, and it really highlights why countries around the world are racing to adopt this technology. It basically allows them to aggressively outnumber adversaries who might be technologically superior but are relying on way more expensive gear. Which brings us to part three, the Indo-Pacific chessboard. Right now, the Indo-Pacific is the real-time testing ground for this proxy tech race. According to the study, the U.S. is heavily bolstering India's Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliance ambitions, through strategic initiatives and by transferring advanced tech, like MQ-9B Predators and autonomous underwater naval gear. On the flip side, China is directly countering this by co-producing advanced drones, like the Winglong 2, and developing local AI-driven swarm capabilities with Pakistan. What we're seeing is a direct, tit-for-tat technological arms race, specifically designed to shift the balance of power in the region without anyone officially declaring war. Let's look at a concrete example in Part 4, Case Study, May 2025. To truly understand the real-world stakes here, the research provides a stark, impartial analysis of a massive flare-up between India and Pakistan that occurred in May 2025. Just notice how rapidly this conflict escalated over a matter of weeks. Following a terrorist blast in Pahalgam in April, India launched Operation Sindoor. During a brief window in early May, India utilized domestically produced MBC-2 swarms, using AI to create complex, unpredictable attack patterns for targeted strikes. In response, Pakistan retaliated with a massive 500-drone swarm that tested India's air defense grid to its absolute limits. Finally, on May 10th, an urgent ceasefire was mediated by international diplomats from the US, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the EU. The sheer scale of that response is vital to understand. Pakistan's retaliation targeted 24 Indian towns across multiple regions in a huge display of asymmetric capability. Now, the research does note that Indian air defenses successfully intercepted most of the drones, preventing mass casualties. But here's the critical takeaway from the study. This specific event signaled a permanent, irreversible shift in the region toward AI-guided autonomous warfare. The seal, as they say, has been broken. This leads us to our final section, Part 5, Breaking Deterrence Theory. So what is the theoretical fallout of this new technology? What does it actually mean for global peace when swarm warfare becomes the new normal? Well, for decades, world peace has relied heavily on deterrence theory. This is that classic Cold War concept of rationality and mutually assured destruction. The idea is pretty simple, right? A nation won't attack you if they know your counterattack will cause massive, unacceptable costs to them. It's an architecture anchored by huge, expensive conventional and nuclear forces. Basically, you don't press the button because you know I'll press mine. But here's the problem. Drone swarms systematically dismantled this theory through a concept that researchers call deterrence by entanglement. First, AI introduces unpredictable autonomous behavior. I mean, if a swarm acts on its own, who is really responsible? Second, by drastically lowering the financial cost of initiating a conflict, the barrier to entry for war just plummets. Third, and honestly most terrifyingly, these swarms are specifically designed to blind early warning radars and jam communications. And if a nation is completely blinded, they suffer step 4, the total neutralization of their second strike capability. You literally can't fire back if all your systems are knocked offline. And this really brings it all home. As stated in a 2023 Strategic Vision Institute webinar, if your adversary can shut down your ability to respond, then any deterrence fails. It is not just about physical destruction anymore, it is about psychological deterrence. If a cheap swarm of disposable drones can cripple a multi-billion-dollar radar and response network, the old rules of the game are completely over. The threat of a counterattack means absolutely nothing if the enemy knows you won't even see them coming until your systems are dead. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder today. In an era of autonomous budget warfare, how do we deter an enemy that no longer fears the cost? It's a pretty chilling question. Establishing new international norms and regulations for AI swarms isn't just some academic exercise anymore, it is an urgent necessity for global survival. The technology is here, the swarms are learning, and the world has to adapt quickly. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.